Good evening. Today is Monday, the 20th day of December, 2021. O come, Emmanuel. Who of us doesn't recognize that first line of a very famous hymn, perhaps the most famous Advent hymn known in the United States, perhaps in the world? We think of it as being very ancient, but in fact the music comes from a Requiem Mass from France in the 15th century, and it was adapted, the tune was adapted by Thomas Helmore, who was born in 1811 and died in 1899. The tune was published in his part 2 of the hymnal Noted in 1854. The text comes from John Mason Neale, one of the great hymnographers and liturgical scholars of the 19th century. Neale was born in 1818 and died in 1866. It is he who translated and versified the 7 O Antiphons, which are chanted in monasteries and many churches throughout the world from the 17th to the 23rd of December. The text of the 7 O's comes from at least the 8th century, and they are sung before the Magnificat during evening prayer the 7 days before the Vigil of Christmas. They're called the O Antiphons because each of them begins with the exclamation O, and each of them ends with a plea for the coming of the Messiah. The antiphons were first composed in the 7th or 8th century, when monks put together texts from the book of Isaiah, which look forward to the coming of our Savior. They form a rich mosaic of scriptural images. These 7 verses appear to be the originals, although from time to time other texts were used. In fact, in the Anglican tradition, there was an extra one added so that the O's began on the 16th, ended on the 22nd, so that a different antiphon in praise of the Virgin was sung on the 23rd. That custom has been abrogated in most of the Anglican churches in the world. In any case, these antiphons became very popular in the Middle Ages, and they were often accompanied by the ringing of bells. And in my own monastery, the first day of the O Antiphons, the 17th, was a feast day. And so the Advent fast was broken, and there was special dessert and wine at meal and all that. A curious feature about the antiphons is that if you take the first letter of each title, in Latin it forms an acrostic in reverse. So the 7 titles are Sapientia, Adonai, Radix, Clavis, Oriens, Rex, Emmanuel. And if you take those words in reverse, you get Ero Cras, which spells out in Latin, I will be there tomorrow. So, the 7 antiphons are, for the 17th, O Sapientia, O Wisdom. The title comes from Isaiah 11, 2-3, and 28, verse 29. O Wisdom, who didst come from the mouth of the Most High, reaching from end to end and ordering all things mightily and sweetly. Come and teach us the way of prudence. O Adonai is drawn from Isaiah 11, 4 and 5, and 33, 22. O Adonai, leader of the house of Israel, who did appear to Moses in the flame of the burning bush, and did give to him the law on Sinai. Come, and with an outstretched arm redeem us. For the 19th, O Radix, O root of Jesse. This is drawn from Isaiah 11, verse 1 and verse 10. O root of Jesse, who stands as an ensign for the people, before whom kings shall fall silent, and unto whom the Gentiles shall make their prayers. Come to deliver us, do not delay. For the 20th, that's today, O Key of David, Isaiah 9:6 and 22:22. O Key of David and scepter of the house of Israel, who dost open and no one shall close, who closes and no one shall open. Come and bring forth from his prison house the captive who sits in darkness and in the shadow of death. For the 21st, O Oriens, O dawn from the east, from Isaiah 9:2. Dawn is often translated as day spring. O dawn from the east, brightness of light eternal and the sun of justice. Come and enlighten those that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death. For the 22nd, O Rex Gentium, O King of the nations. This is drawn from Isaiah 2, verse 4, and 9, verse 7. O King of the nations and their great desire, thou cornerstone that makes both into one. Come and deliver mankind, whom you didst form from the clay. And finally, on the 23rd, O Emmanuel, Isaiah 7:14. O Emmanuel, our King and lawgiver, the expectation of the nations and their Savior, come to save us, O Lord our God. You will note that the last one, O Emmanuel, becomes the first verse of our hymn. I'm not sure why that was done, but that's the way we all know it. The chant tune that goes with these antiphons, the music gets adjusted to fit the words, has no relation whatsoever to the hymn tune that we know. I'd like to sing for you, or that is to say, attempt to sing for you, the first of the O antiphons, O wisdom which came forth from the Most High, for the 17th, the first day of the O's. O sapientia, quae ex ore altissimi prodisti, attingens a fine usque ad finem fortiter, suaviter disponensque omnia, veni adocendum nos ad viam prudentiae. I wish you a very pleasant evening.